For the hip internal rotation kinetic stretch, we're going to actively use some of the outer hip muscles to pull us into a hip internal rotation stretch, and then the opposite side muscles to push us back into the start position. This is really going to help you build awareness of your hip muscles. It will help you learn how to control hip internal rotation, and it will really augment any stretching that you're doing and translate into a lot of your active mobility with your hip rotation, which is super important because it is one of the fundamental movements of your hip. So to do this movement, we're going to get into the 90-90 position. You need to find these muscles first. So that is going to be the muscles responsible for rotating your thigh this direction and lifting your foot up. You may get a little cramping here. That just means you don't have a lot of strength there. Now, those muscles are going to work, but instead of lifting your foot up, your foot is going to be glued to the ground. We're going to imagine it's glued, and instead, you're going to actively think about pulling and rotating and sinking your body into this back hip. So when a lot of people do this, they will think they are doing the movement by just kind of sitting back into it. You might find a stretch, but you're not going to actively be using these muscles. It looks the same, but it feels completely different. I really want you to aim for sensation and feeling what you need to feel here. So again, think about actively pulling yourself into this nice deep stretch. The stretch you should feel is in those muscles right in through here. You might get a little crampy. Again, that's okay to push into, just not to a full-blown muscle spasm. Once you've gotten to that end range position, you should not feel any pinching or sharp pains in the groin in the front of your hip. That means it's a closing angle sensation. We don't want to push into that, so don't go that far. Once you're at this position, we're now going to switch what muscles are that we're using. You're going to push your foot down into the ground now and push your knee into the ground and push yourself back forwards. So you're going to use your glutes and some of your inner leg muscles here to push yourself back to the start position. Now, if this is too intense of a position for you and you feel like it's just aggravating or you don't have much movement, you can lean away from it to make it a little bit more intense. And then we can do the same thing. Think about lifting that back ankle, pull ourselves into this nice deep position, and then push ourselves away. That might be a little bit easier for you. You might have a little bit more mobility. If that is still challenging, you can elevate yourself up on a yoga block, and now we can do it here. And if it is still challenging and you can't move or you can't be comfortable or you feel a lot of pinching in your hip joint, this is just not the exercise or position for you. Now, if you feel like you can't move very far, I have a lot of mobility, you might not, you need to just move at whatever amount you have. So if the prescription for your program says 5 seconds, I want you to take all 5 seconds to get to that point. So that might be this. That was a very minimal amount of movement. It doesn't matter how far you go, it just matters that you can feel what you need to feel and you're spending the entire time actively moving and then pushing yourself back out of it, right? For me, that's all the way here because I've done this for a while, have a lot of mobility. For you, it might not be that way. Over time, though, you should feel that you have a lot more movement. If you feel like you are really stiff and uncomfortable here, you probably just need to spend more time stretching. So over time, you should feel that you can kind of stay more upright. We can lean into the stretch a little bit more. We may even be able to add a small weight here, but you should feel that you are able to get a little bit deeper and deeper into your range of motion, and you feel like you have a lot more access and control and awareness of your hip muscles. Those are all signs of progress. If you are struggling in the beginning, remember it just takes a lot of consistency and patience. So show up, do the work, and over time you should note some of these things as signs of progress.